Story 1. Nuked my wife's lover. TLDR. My ex cheated on me and got engaged while she was still married to me. The new hubby was an abusive douchebag who worked in a shady business where people invested in oil wells. I found out he was on probation for felony coke possession and posted the arrest report and court records online. His firm imploded. Now he is unemployed. He also was very abusive to my ex and cheated on her. She finally left him but also still pays his bills, which means she is so broke she has to sell plasma. A little over a decade ago my wife decided to get a divorce. We had 2 kids, and even though our sex life was non-existent, I really didn't want to get divorced and break up the family. It turned out that the reason she had killed off our sex life was that she had been cheating on me for quite a while. She had planned everything out years in advance and had set it up so that the divorce would be final at the same time she finished up the last semester of her master's degree. Then she was going to take the kids and move to Dallas to live with her fiancé. Even showed me the engagement ring. Long story short, you could say the divorce was ugly, in much the same way you could say the bombing of Hiroshima left the place rather messy. When the smoke cleared, I wind up with custody of the kids. So she literally packed up a U-Haul and drove off to Dallas to move in with her fiancé. Then she stopped paying child support. I had to get the state attorney general's office to sue her to get her to pay up. Since she had gone ahead and moved to Dallas, she had very little contact with the kids, and when they did go to her place they hated it. Her new hubby had no interest in the kids, other than to bully them. It wasn't physical, but it was still bullying. For example, when my son was 15, he wanted to go to a horror movie convention in Dallas. I couldn't afford to go with him, but I scraped up enough money so he could go. The ex said she would pick him up at the airport, drive him to the convention, take care of him while he was in Dallas, make sure he had a good time, etc. So I got him a plane ticket and a 3-day convention pass. Instead of taking him to the convention, they used him to help them move all weekend. By the time he got to the convention, it was Sunday afternoon and everything was shut down and everyone was going home. The step-douche was a huge a-hole and was constantly making things as hard as he could for both me and the kids, simply because he could. This is just one example. It is important to note here what the step-douche did for a living. He and a couple of other partners ran a small business scam that solicited people to invest in oil wells. They ran a call center and cold called folks to talk them into investing. They would then get this money together and they were supposed to use it to buy old oil wells, rework the well to get it producing again, and the investors all got a share of the proceeds. I know that they actually did do this on a couple of occasions, but how much of the investors' money was actually invested, and how much went towards the step-douche's rented Mercedes and suits and such, I don't know. I know that step-douche and my ex went to a lot of rock concerts and pro football games, but I also know that at least one of his partners was apparently honest, and the firm was big enough they hired my ex to work there at least part-time, and they had a couple of office assistants too. I had spent some time in the military and worked briefly with law enforcement, so I pulled every string I could and got as much background on the step-douche as I could. It turned out that he was on probation for felony cocaine possession and for assaulting a cop. Apparently, he had stopped off at a truck stop to pick up some party supplies for a Super Bowl party, and he bought the drugs from an undercover cop. Nobody knew this, not the ex, not his partners, certainly not the people he was trying to get to invest in his oil well deals. Eventually, I posted his arrest report online. The whole thing. I was very careful not to add or embellish anything because when it comes to slander, truth is a defense. As long as I only posted the truth, it wouldn't be legally actionable. Court records are public documents. I also said that this was only one side of the story and that people should contact him to find out his side. So, I posted all his contact information, including where he worked, and the firm website, and the firm phone number, and I think his home address, in the interest of fairness, so people could get his side of the story. But I did not dox him or anything like that, not even once, even though he lacked the legal certifications and background checks required for someone who worked doing investments. I figured his partners could find that out for themselves if they decided to check. I don't know the details of what happened next, but I do know that the ex called me up a couple of weeks later and literally begged me to take my post down. I do know that his firm vanished. Apparently people are reluctant to invest their life savings with an unlicensed drug felon. The kids said that the ex and the step-douche had to move into a hotel for a while, so what happened to the house they were renting? I don't know. Finally, they moved back to our city and step-douche got a job working for a buddy's exotic car company. Customers would come into the company and request a particular kind of car, and he had to go search the internet to find a matching one that was for sale. I don't think it was a high-paying position. The ex went back to the job she had before the divorce, and she was the big breadwinner. I know that they were dodging creditors for a long time because I would occasionally get phone calls from bill collectors asking for my ex-wife. These guys always found me to be very cooperative. Since I dropped the kids off at their place for the visitation weekends, I knew exactly where they lived, what their phone numbers were, where the ex worked, everything. Then I would call her brother and tell him that his sister was in financial trouble. Again, I think he helped her out a few times. I once got a call from a bill collector that was out to repo the Harley the ex had bought stepdouche as a wedding present. I was able to tell him not just where they lived, but how to get up to the property unseen, and that when I dropped off the kids on Saturday mornings, stepdouche normally had the garage door open while he did yard work. I don't know if the repo man used this information or not, but they did go from a 3-car plus a Harley family to a 1-car family over the course of a few months. Since they only had 1 car, stepdouche made the ex take the bus to work. Finally, my daughter was brave enough that she used her iPhone to record one of stepdouche's rage fits where he slapped around the ex. I was able to take this to court and get a restraining order requiring him to be at least 500 feet away from my daughter at all times. This meant that the ex still had visitation, but that my daughter didn't have to go over to their house anymore. Eventually, stepdouche got fired from his job and he hasn't worked in like 5 years. The ex finally left him, but for some reason nobody understands she still pays all his bills, which means she has to sell plasma to try and make ends meet while he hangs out at strip clubs. But that's not my problem. A couple years later, one of his partners started up a new oil and gas firm and went to long lengths to get it certified by the Better Business Bureau and every other look. We really are honest website he could find, so it seems likely he didn't know that stepdouche was as slimy as he turned out to be. Reader comment: I'm under the impression that posting a person's contact information and personal address is literally doxing. Is there some subtle difference that I'm missing? What Opus did was revenge, but yes, Opus doxed. And Opus abused his authority in the police department to run a background check on this guy. Original poster: I was not in the police department. I just ran public records checks, and then bought a copy of the police report. The strings I pulled were to find out how to find the right public records database and set up an account. Everything was a public record. It was just I had no idea of where to look. Reader comment: I don't understand giving out your kid's home address. Seems unsafe. Original poster: oh no, not my kid's address, the stepdouche's address. The kids always lived with me. I went through a lot to maintain custody. I wasn't going to let them live with stepdouche. Reader comment: very thorough revenge. Is there any more evidence the business was scummy besides him renting a Mercedes? You use a lot of scare quotes and directly call it a scam without much to back it up besides his lifestyle, even saying there is evidence of them doing exactly what they say they are doing. Original poster: my main source for that was a series of posts from disgruntled former employees on a rip-off report website. They had worked in the call center and mentioned him by name. I came across those even before I found the police report, and they were the ones alleging that the call center was at least shady, if not a scam. Also, I found that under Texas state law you're supposed to have a number of certifications and background checks if you are working in any sort of business where you are soliciting investments, and that includes oil well syndicates. When I checked with the certification board, they had never heard of him, and his drug bust would have explicitly disqualified him from having those. That being said, they did actually do at least one well, and at least one of his partners was honest, so I can't really say, and I wanted to make sure to include that fact in the interest of being fair. Story 2. My guts tells me she's having an emotional affair. What do I do? Hey everyone. The short version is that my gut was right and we're working through it. Currently cautiously optimistic. And the long version: so I decided to confront my wife. It took a threatening for her to start getting at the truth. At this point, she admitted to talking to someone, but he was just a friend, and for some reason she wanted to keep it a secret. She did not want to show me her phone. Over the course of the following week or two we were okay for a few days and went back to the topic again. One of the days I pressed for looking through her phone, and when she was ready to do it, he deleted the chat, still claiming he was only a friend. At around the 2-week mark, I confronted her again. Finally, she admitted that they did have an emotional affair, but it ended and they are truly just friends now. This time she felt the sincerest. To me, over the course of the following 2 weeks, she truthfully answered most questions and seems to feel guilty and truly want to make up. Occasionally she would let me check her messages as well. They're still talking though, which makes me a bit uncomfortable, but I don't want to force her to stop talking to him. She offered to stop, but I told her that if she is going to stop it has to be on her own accord and not because I told her so. So far, my gut isn't telling me something is wrong, but my head gets stuck on certain things, either now or in the past. She is very accommodating, trying to make me feel at ease and trust her again though. So, all in all, I don't fully trust her right now, but at least I don't feel like our marriage is falling apart right this moment. Hopefully I'll not get another reason to come back here more than to share a happy ending with you all. Once again, thanks for the amazing support from this amazing community. Edit. I see all the comments and I guess I have to clarify a couple things. Yes, she trickles truth me and I pointed that out as well. I sort of fast forwarded and skipped a few details of what the most emotional week and a half of my life was probably. So please bear with that. I know that him still being in the picture is a problem, but me forcing her to stop probably leads to one of two things. She does but keeps feeling, somewhere deep down, that she wants to talk to him. Or she, as some of you point out, goes further underground. Why I'm fairly confident now is because I know, without her knowledge, have logs of all chats. Don't even have to check her phone. And as long as it stays in the same platform, I will have full access. And a whiff of her going back, I'm out. Reader comment. Sorry, Opus, things are not adding up right. If your wife was in an emotional affair, which she admits, she cannot just cut him off. Not, as in doesn't want to, but as in can't. She gave her heart to this guy. It is unrealistic to believe that she cut him off cold turkey. It's vastly more likely that they've just taken it underground. The AS may be slightly lower on the scale than effing, but it is still cheating, and cheating is lying. She has been lying to you for a long time. Don't take anything she tells you at face value until she has restored your trust, if that is even possible after this level of betrayal. Unlike some others, I don't fault your decision not to force her to stop talking to her AP, even though that's your preference. It's dangerous, but if you can bear the stress of waiting, giving her enough rope to hang herself if she screws up is not a bad idea. You are going to have to be extremely vigilant going forward. However, watch every inconsistency and every red flag, no matter how minor. I think that the odds are against you, but good luck. Reader comment. The fact that she doesn't cut him off is proof that she doesn't care about you. Imagine if you had something that was literally hurting your wife constantly, and you could throw it out to make her feel better. Would you do it? If you loved your wife, yes, but if you value the thing that hurt your wife, then you are letting her decide, but it's your choice at the end of the day to stay in this toxicity. Reader comment. I'm really sorry, Opus, but you don't want to face the truth. Many here have given you excellent advice, but your fear is playing against you. If you follow this path, you will end up writing a new post in this sub about how now your partner has moved on to the physical part of the affair. It's a shame to see that you have the possibility to come out of all this with your head held high, but you have decided to do the pick-me dance. Good luck, Opus. Story 3. I filed last week. My wife had an affair summer 2021. I discovered it early August after it had gone on for about 1 month. She tried to pass it off as sexting, only, despite ample evidence from their conversation that it was much more than that. She blamed me for my inattentiveness, porn use, and lackluster sex life. Fair enough, I guess. I could do better, and so on that basis I decided to reconcile. She passes a polygraph test with the help of a large dose of lorazepam obtained from the coworkers who are enabling all of this, then brags about beating the test. While she stopped sexting AP, she never broke contact, and so I had a hard time reconciling and giving her all the attention, sex, etc., that she wanted. On October 30th, in our final MC session, I committed to the relationship. We went home, had sex. Afterwards, around midnight, her phone pings with a message from him saying that he wasn't home on Friday. Interesting, no. I found out a couple weeks later that she was asking him for a hookup that coming Friday. She had deleted the message, but her new phone sends deleted messages to a trash folder. I asked her who was texting you at midnight, to which she answered that it was just her friend from work. Yet another lie. That weekend, she was out grocery shopping while I was sledding with the kids. We get home about the same time. She's crying, so I ask what's wrong. She says that she broke things off with AP. Well, boo-hoo. Anyway, when I get into the phone weeks later, I discover that she didn't break things off. What had actually happened was he got tired of her pestering him for a picture of his junk. He doesn't do the SX thing when it's his time to have custody of his daughter. So after a day of her pestering him for this picture, he told her to calm down and that he was with her daughter and knew that she wasn't going to be his priority this weekend. She responded with an angry tirade of her own, to which he responded that this was getting too emotional, and he was now out. So, it appears that he ended it with her, not the other way round. I thought maybe we could get on with things then. Another mistake. January is our daughter's birthday and AP reaches out to wish her a happy birthday. By this time, my wife has given me access to her phone, and in an effort to be transparent, Tells me that a P texted her. She tells me though that it was only about the birthday. I don't trust her, so I look and see 3 days worth of text messaging, which, while not sexual in nature, went far beyond just kid talk. It emerges that he is at home the next 2 days because of the weather. She works at home. He's at home. So that night she spends 3 hours in the bathroom grooming herself. She visits him at his house the next day and has sex with him. I confront her and she says that the slurping noises are them drinking tea. And the moaning and groaning is his asthma. Despite it being clear what was going on, she insists that it wasn't what it sounds like. I am ready to walk, but because I am generally unassertive and have a hard time standing up for myself, despite the bullying, encouragement of people here, I decide to stay. I guess other reasons too, such as fears about custody and having a place to live since she out-earns me. She tells me this latest visit is my fault as well because I wasn't doing what she had asked me to. I was doing it, however imperfectly, given the fact that she was still in contact with AP. And the fact that I have never been able to accept her story that it was just sexting was eating me alive. After that visit, she stopped seeing him. However, in May, she had been at home with our sick son for a week. We go to a bar in the evening. She says she wants some time with me, but also wants some time to herself, so I stay for a couple drinks and leave. I find out later from another deleted text thread that she was texting him after I left. She asked if he had his daughter that week. Turns out he did. So, what if he hadn't? Would she have stopped at his house on the way home? She texts him a happy birthday message in June. I confront her about this one. I have been in therapy working on assertiveness, etc. This whole time. Throughout, I am getting better at asserting myself, and so I have pushed back on her more and more as she attempts to reconcile by getting me to accept responsibility for all of this. I can accept my faults as a husband, but I will not accept responsibility for her affair. She will not accept that this was an affair. She constantly uses the passive voice when talking about it when happened, like it just happened. Her strategy has been twofold over the last 6 months or so. She tells me she suffers from depersonalization disorder, and that as a result she has no control over her actions, and wouldn't you know it, happens only when she is with AP. It also apparently gives her amnesia, so she won't answer questions about her reaching out to him in May. This is all hot garbage. My therapist has told me that depersonalization does not work this way, does not cause amnesia, and does not absolve one of responsibility. In addition, she would be less than 1% of the population who has such persistent depersonalization. She is trying to get me to attend a psychiatrist appointment with her so that they can explain to me that she didn't cheat because depersonalization. Her other strategy is to claim it wasn't cheating because in my mind we were separated. I tell her separation does not work that way. You can't kiss me and tell me you love me, and continue to have sex with me while seeing another man and not of me consider it cheating regardless of whether you consider us separated. Also, she insisted to her AP that she had no intention of leaving me, but apparently her doctors and lawyers who she told me she consulted before the affair, not true. They were consulted after, and when I called her out on that, she tells me no, there is a third lawyer that she consulted before. Indeed, and psychiatrists all agree that she was separated and didn't have an affair. One really must marvel at her ability to spin a tale. It really is remarkable the lengths she has gone to escape having to take accountability for her actions. No remorse shown. Any apology I have gotten has either been walked back or qualified with a long list of but you, etc. afterwards. This has been absolute mental torture. I have tried to give her what she wants, but my mental state has verged on suicidal. I have zero libido now and have been dealing with it for the first time in my life this year. This is no way to live a life. I find myself so tense and anxious being around her that I can't sleep in the same bed as her. It has been brutal and the worst thing I have ever experienced in my life. I told her a couple weeks ago that I intend to separate and have put the process in motion. She still will not accept it, although she is telling me that she will not stop me. She still tries to get me into hugs, kisses, etc. I just can't do it anymore. The final straw was this Christmas when she got upset with me not wanting to attend her workplace Christmas functions where I would be forced to interact with the same people she has been smearing me to for years and who enabled and encouraged her affair. She also told me that she was running an experiment on me. She made sure to show me affection and give me compliments, and then counted the number of times I reciprocated and presented me with a tally sheet wherein I was deemed efficient. A tally sheet of things, right down to the relative number of orgasms each of us had. Goddamn, what a relief. While there is some trepidation about separation, custody, etc., my mood has been far lighter in the last week than it has in 18 months. I don't have to second-guess my interactions with my kids anymore, and I don't have to worry about performing for her. She is upset and is seething about the fact that I'm not yet over this, but it was 2 years ago, she says. It has only been a year and a half since I first found out, 1 year since her last visit to his place, and only 6 or so months since her last contact with him. And with her lying, gaslighting, manipulations, etc., it may as well have happened yesterday, and she is having everyone throw her the pity party because her awful husband won't accept her diagnosis, and is now divorcing his poor mentally ill wife. The smear campaign continues. Call me what you want, but for the love of all the gods, don't be me. It's not worth it. My kids have noticed my mood. My family is worried. My coworkers, too. I guess that's it. Pretty pathetic, really. Reader comment. As soon as you move out, she'll be playing home with the AP. Glad you found the inner strength to end things. I actually think the AP is keeping her on the back burner. I think if he really wanted her, she would already be gone. But she's a cheater and AP is using her. He knows she aren't respectable. I think this is why she is giving poor Opus such a runaround, playing head games with him. Just in case AP actually wants her for more than a booty call. Original poster. AP is apparently now in a relationship. My wife showed me his Facebook relationship status and told me that I have nothing to worry about now. She absolutely would be gone had he wanted her. Thing is, he swore up and down to her that he wasn't interested in any kind of relationship with anyone. Maybe it was just her. I guess he knew better. Reader comment. Man, get away from that toxic woman. Hire a cutthroat lawyer. She earns more than you do, which means you can get alimony from her. Your kids are likely dying inside watching their dad get walked over and go into depression. Take the offense and regain your mental health. Original poster. My kids, my daughter especially, noticed something wrong. She would ask me why I looked so depressed. The last 6 months were really hard, and I came to feel like I was really disconnected from them, which was unusual since I have always been a very hands-on parent and primary caregiver. Reader comment. The bit about the slurping and moaning. How did you hear them having sex? Did I miss something? Anyway, good riddance to loose garbage. Tell your kids the truth about why this is all happening, too, if you haven't already. They deserve to know the kind of person their mom is. I hope things keep looking up for you. Original poster. You will have to read between the lines a little here. Though I haven't said anything to the kids, they are the recipients of plenty of gaslighting and lying themselves. Her relationship with them, our oldest in particular, is quite strained. I posted in our parenting a while back about an incident between the two of them. Par for the course and plenty more examples I could give. She is a very authoritarian parent and her relationship with them has suffered as a result. Parenting is not something